Welcome to Tea Time, my friends, a place where I muse about my gender transition experience and in the process aim to comfort and inspire others to a greater level of self awareness. I'm Artemis, and this video is just going to be a little bit of a teaser for a project that I did about a month ago or so with a channel called Boldly Ambivalent. The gentleman who runs that channel's name is Julian, and I greatly applaud his efforts on his channel. I'm going to link it in the description below. He is going about talking to people that are perhaps considered fringe or unconventional, maybe out of the ordinary, in an attempt to understand where they are coming from, understand them as people. And again, I greatly applaud his efforts. I think that kind of curiosity and level headedness is something that I wish so many more people had. And so I did a one on one interview with him, and then also in another interview, a separate interview, he brought me on with Daisy Chadra. No, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name, but she is a YouTuber. She has her own channel. I will also link her channel in the description below. And in that interview, he brought us together and we talked about our different experiences with transgenderism. So, Daisy, at a younger age, had transitioned from female to male, and then more recently detransitioned. And of course, she talks about her thoughts and experience on her channel. I would encourage you to go there and talk about that, but it was really awesome that we all got together in the same interview to talk amongst each other and ask questions. uh, Julian spares no time in digging deep into the questions that he has from his perspective. And so these interviews are anywhere between 2 and 3 hours long, which I think is great if you're really curious and you'd like to just kind of be a fly on the wall in those conversations. That's what his channel is partially about, at least, and I think it's great. So I'm going to be clipping for you a piece of the interview just between Julian and I, and perhaps in another video when I have a chance to go back and watch that 3 hour interview, I will clip something of curiosity or interest to tease for that interview on a separate video. But for now, in this clip, I'm going to be showing you it's where Julian confronts me with the possibility that perhaps taking testosterone contributed more to, or maybe even in some ways created, the dysphoria, the body dysphoria that I had towards my breasts, wanting to have those removed, which is fantastic that he's willing to ask those questions, those very uncomfortable and confronting questions that maybe a lot of people would be offended by. Me, not at all. It's something that I am grateful when people are brave enough to ask those questions, and I'm more than happy to reward them with answers that aren't coming from a place of aggression or being offended. So that is the clip that you're about to see here. Again, all the information you should need to go check out his channels in the description below. I would highly recommend that you do that. I think he's on to a great thing here, and I would love to support him in that endeavor. So enjoy.
Oh, so it sounds like it was a growing disgust. It sounds like initially you were kind of just you had what you had and that was it. And then there's the social side of it, which is other people noticing, which isn't the same thing as the more visceral what you're describing. Um,
Right.
so is there a particular point? Um, I'm hoping this will not be either boring to you or to people listening, but I'm inclined to go through this fairly methodically. Um,
Sure.
is there any, was there a particular point, or what do you think getting into relationships was more what made them more of a
I
problem?
think, honestly, what I think made them even more of a problem was testosterone. And that's interesting to me is that maybe if I hadn't been on testosterone, I might have been able to tolerate them if I needed to for the rest of my life. I probably would have wore binders, tight sports bras, probably would have gone the route that a lot of other people who don't go the route of surgery take, which is just doing lots of pectoral exercises to reduce their size down to, nothing. But even with all of that, for me, breasts are such a feminine marker. and I see myself as such a thoroughly masculine person that it definitely would have been something that I would have tried to hide. Um,
So
and
is it a double whammy then? You went off birth control and you went on testosterone.
yep, I went from here to here, way from
Yeah.
one side to the other.
Um, what a quick note about amounts. Do you have any idea how much estrogen is in birth control relative to what you would already have? Like I've heard testosterone as being 10 times the 10, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, but what I do know is that birth control, I think, is less estrogen and more progesterone, or it's measures of each during different parts of the pill pack to mimic a menstrual cycle. So I do not know what the actual dosage comparisons are between the two. Um, so yeah, that would be something interesting to know.
I'm trying to remember whether I heard somewhere that there in discussing it was a book specifically talking about the effects of different hormones on psychology, and this is a relatively old book. Um, it might have been progesterone that corresponded to what was called female receptivity towards sex. Does this ring any bells or make any kind of sense? This could be.
Um, yes, it does actually. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know there was something about how it was at different stages in a woman's cycle. Felt like different things and didn't like, and it
Yeah,
didn't in
that,
some
that
way.
that is absolutely, that's very true. Yeah, and I live that experiment every 28 days with my wife now, but because it's true, they at different points in their cycle they do or don't want certain things, perhaps sexually or even just their choice in mate. They've done experiments on this where women, while they're ovulating, prefer men with much more angular jaws that have more masculine features, and when they're not ovulating, they prefer men with slightly more feminine features, which is very interesting. So, yeah, that is hormonal.
Right. Okay. So then it sounds like now's the time to talk about testosterone, if especially if it was because someone could argue, well, then maybe you should have stayed off testosterone, and then you wouldn't have needed to do surgery, and would that be better? And leaving aside what people may think of that argument, so what led you to testosterone?
Yeah, so for that, I it's a fantastic question. Um, there's a video that I did called "The Unexpected Effects of Testosterone," which I've seen a few other trans YouTubers talk about, which is that when they went on testosterone, everything seemed to just kind of shift to more mental health alignment, I guess you could say, where they just felt more centered. And I know in that video that Jordan Peterson did with Abigail Schreier, where they talk about how testosterone, does alleviate effects of depression and anxiety for a period of time in women, so that there might be that misleading, hey, women think that they're doing better on testosterone because they actually have depression or anxiety, and testosterone helps that for a short period of time. So for me, I was curious. I didn't ever have any symptoms of depression or anxiety, but because I was such a masculine person, I thought, okay, maybe I will experience this, centering of self if I go on this testosterone. Because I had searched out these videos ad nauseum as much as I could find. And at worst, if it doesn't work, let's just say 6 months in, and my voice starts to drop, or there are some other changes that happen that are irreversible. Am I okay with those symptoms? Well, yeah, I'm actually more than okay. I want some of those symptoms and changes. I wanted a deeper voice. I wanted facial hair. And the receding hairline is something that just comes with the territory, whatever, but that usually doesn't happen until a few years in, which is what's happening for me. And even that being the case, am I okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. So for me, it was let's see if this can improve my life anymore, and did, and has continued to improve. So it was I'm not sure. Let's try it. All things considered.
Okay, so you were looking for the the voice change and the centering, as you call it. It sounds like those are the main things you were looking for.
Yeah, just the sense of centering, that sense of general well-being, like things are finally aligned. And I looked at it from a very medical perspective, which is that if men in their later years need more testosterone so that they, feel healthier and they have a better sense of vitality. That maybe, even though I'm a biological female, maybe I have some internal physiological things that would actually respond better to testosterone than they do to estrogen and progesterone. And that was kind of an experiment that I ran on myself, really. Like, can you be a biological female and have physiological things in your inner workings deep within yourself that respond to testosterone better? And likewise, it can work both ways. Maybe for a male who's trans woman or trans female, that maybe him being on estrogen or progesterone, he would feel better. I don't know the literature on that as much, but for me anyway, like I said, it was primarily to see if I could just improve my mental health in a better
And
sense.
and what at this point you've already are living as a lesbian, and that's working. Is what's missing? What's wrong with that?
What's missing? Yeah. Um, Pushing the envelope for me, scientific inquiry especially is something that I'm constantly in pursuit of. So in some ways, I suppose I used myself as an experiment to see if it's pretty decent here, um, can it get better? And I did think that there was room for that with, again, not really liking my breasts, thinking, okay, yeah, I could accept myself as a female with all that biology, but if I could have it better, why not? You know, um, and so that's, yeah, I guess the looking at all the things that being on hormone therapy could offer me, plus, what if I were able to pick and choose something to even further um, express myself, my sense of self, then all right, sure, yeah, let's go for it.